City Talks with Reuben Abati.
On this show, we talk about stories of political and human interest that affect us as citizens of Nigeria and as members of a larger human global community. Now, today we'll be discussing transportation in Lagos State. And to guide us through this, we have a special guest. We're indeed very privileged to have with us in the house today, Gbenga Omotoso, Lagos State Commissioner for Information and Strategy. Gbenga Omotoso is a multiple award-winning journalist, newspaper columnist, media strategist, social critic, member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, and also member of the Nigerian Union of Journalists. He was born on November 11, 1961. He attended the University of Benin, Nigeria, where he bagged a Bachelor of Arts degree in English and Literature in 1984. He followed this up with a master's degree in Public and International Affairs, MPIA, at the University of Lagos, Akoka, in 2007. His professional competencies include information management, policy formulation, and human reputation management, among others. His nearly 35 years experience in the media began as a trainee sub-editor at The Guardian. He eventually rose to become deputy chief editor of The Guardian Express. At a point, in fact, he was deputy chief sub of the Guardian sub-desk, and he also later became editor of The Guardian on Saturday. He was the pioneer editor of The Comment in 1999, until it was rested in the year 2006 when he joined The Nation as editor. Now, as editor of The Nation, it was from that position that he went on to become the Commissioner for Information and Strategy for Lagos State. As a journalist, Gbenga Omotoso has received many awards in the course of his career, including the Diamond Awards for Media Excellence Informed Commentary in 2010, the Nigeria Media Merit Award Editor of the Year 2013, the Nigeria Media Merit Award Editor of the Year 2015, and the Nigeria Media Merit Award Editor of the Year 2017. Our guest today is a veteran journalist, a very distinguished, media practitioner, and what many do not know about him is also the fact that he's a very strong table tennis player. If he had not been in journalism, he would probably have been playing table tennis for Nigeria at international tournaments. As a student at the University of Benin, he was representing the University of Benin at table tennis tournaments within Nigeria and across West Africa, as a student. But today he speaks, he's a spokesperson for the Babajide Sanwo-Olu administration. On your behalf, it is my pleasure to welcome him to this program. And if you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0700-1051-1051. Or you can leave comments on WhatsApp 090-991-64403. And you can also join us on social media at City1051 on Zoom, Twitter, and Facebook. Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Lagos State, Gbenga Omotoso, it's a pleasure to have you on the program. You're welcome.
Thank you for that elaborate introduction.
Well, let's go into it. Transportation in Lagos State. A few days ago, about 4 or 5 days ago, the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, introduced what he calls the first and last mile bus scheme. And this is meant to address the what is otherwise known as the menace of Okada or Keke Marwa. And we're told that this is due to people's demand to take out motorcycles on the streets of Lagos, to take out what is called Okada, to take out Keke Marwa, that's the tricycle, from the streets, and to provide an alternative. And then we're told there's something called a Cowrie card, which can be used for multi-purpose transportation in the state of Lagos. Well, what is this first mile, last mile, all about. It sounds familiar. I think they have something like that in the United States. Is this an imitation of a model from elsewhere, or a genuine attempt to provide an alternative? And how will it work?
First, let me start from the beginning. The themes agenda, the development, six-pillar development agenda of the Mr. Abati Sanwo-Olu administration. The first pillar is transportation and traffic management. And that shows the importance of transportation in the scheme of things in Lagos. Lagos is growing every day in terms of population, and the movement of people in that situation becomes a challenge. And to resolve this matter, Mr. Abati Sanwo-Olu, the governor, feels that he has to tackle it along. And then you look at the way things are structured in Lagos. We have the big buses all over the place. The idea is to have intermodal transportation, that people can travel by rail, by water, and by road. So the question of these last mile and first mile buses became imperative because of all the things that the people suffer by the way they travel from their homes to the major bus stops, and the recklessness of commercial motorcycles, and not just reckless, they are also security risks. They pose a lot of security risks to our people, and we felt that this should not be allowed to continue. And how to do this, because people have been talking about alternatives, and we said, well, if we are going to take out Okada, if they will not behave, because they were restricted from about 465 or 70 roads, but they wouldn't obey this restriction. They kept on going to the highways. They kept on carrying expectant mothers. They kept on carrying 3-4 passengers at a time. They kept on riding on top of the bridges and against the traffic. They were doing everything that they were not supposed to do. But the government is saying, well, if people are asking for an alternative, it's only fair for us to provide an alternative before we take away the motorcycles. And the alternative is the last mile and first mile buses that are supposed to take people from their bus stops to the major bus stops, from their homes to the major bus stops, that are supposed to ply the inner routes, so that people who don't want to walk, we have an alternative of riding in decent, efficient, and comfortable buses. That is what the last mile and first mile scheme is all about.
Yeah, but what then happens? What is the plan by the state government for the people who are already in the motorcycle business, the tricycle business? Does the government have any plans for them? Because you could have many of them, being deployed for other purposes and constituting a problem to the state government. And how much will a bus under the first mile, last mile scheme, how much will it cost? What is the plan? And how does it accommodate the interests of the people who will be displaced?
First, the people who are, nobody is going to be displaced, in the sense that we have asked them that Okada is not, commercial motorcycle called Okada, is not part of the greater Lagos journey that we have embarked on with the governor, Mr. Abati Sanwo-Olu. And then we are not going to throw anybody into the just market. What we are saying is that even this scheme that we have introduced is going to employ hundreds of people. All you need to do is to join a cooperative and be able to have access to a bus. And apart from that, there are so many other schemes that the government is doing to alleviate people's poverty. People who are suffering. You have the women and poverty, anti-poverty programs that are there. We have 21 skills acquisition centers that people can go into without paying anything, and they can learn trade, hairdressing, barbing, sewing, and all other trades that anybody wants to learn. And you don't have to pay, it's free. And when you learn a trade, we don't just throw you out into the street and ask you to go and start fending for yourself. We also give you equipment to go and start. So people who need to earn a living by learning a skill and practicing a trade, they have an opportunity in Lagos. It's not decent for people to begin to ride commercial motorcycles the way people ride them in Lagos. And if you take a sense of some people who are in this kind of business, you even know that most of them are not even Nigerians. They are not the kind of people we just must cater for. And people are moving in droves into Lagos with commercial motorcycles that have been banned in other places. And if other places can ban commercial motorcycles, I don't see why Lagos can say, well, we are going to embrace them. And the government is just being magnanimous by saying that, hey, we are not even going to throw away the baby and the bathwater. We are going to be doing something for these guys. We are inviting them into our skills acquisition centers. And those who are saying that there are graduates, university graduates among the people who are riding Okada, we are saying the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund is there. Anybody has a good business idea should take it there, and the person will be supported. And apart from that, we have our internship program. If you are a graduate, you can't find a work, you go and key into the program. There are thousands of them that have been put in companies to work now. The idea is that when they start working with such companies and learning the workings of a corporate organization, at the end of the day, they will be able to gain employment into that particular organization or some other ones. And these interns are being paid 40,000 per month. And there are also other programs that we are doing with the federal government, cash transfer programs under which people are giving about 15,000 naira without even doing anything, so that they can be supported for them to start small trades, petty trades. So it's not as if people are going to lose their jobs. Hundreds of people are going to be employed through this last mile and first mile bus scheme.
Well, Honorable Commissioner, I mean, in the last 1 month or 2 months or thereabouts, I've been seeing some small buses all over Lagos, particularly in some reserved areas like the Ikeja government GRA, like Ikoyi, parts of Ikoyi. All these small buses, you know, we had seen them before. I know that the governor a few days ago launched 500 buses out of the 5,000 buses he had marked for the first and last mile scheme. Those small buses always trying to disturb big vehicles on the road, disturbing people driving luxury cars. Are these the buses for the first and last mile scheme? Because they seem to be very notorious.
These ones that we are talking about are much more decent than the ones you are talking about. And they are not going to be going onto the highways where people who have a BB cars drive, or people who have luxury cars, as you call them. They are going to be going into the inner streets where they can take people from their homes, to their closest, nearest bus stops, where they can get on to go to their ways, where the big buses, the high capacity buses, can then pick them up. So they are not the type of buses that will be disturbing people all over the place like the small ones you see. And those ones that you see in some estates, they are the estates that have organized them. The estates that don't want Keke, Marwa or Okada because of what people have associated with them now. So they are the people who have organized all these buses to be plying their inside their estates. But these ones are bigger, they are more decent, they are more comfortable. They are the kind of buses that should be seen in Lagos, and the kind of buses that our people deserve.
Okay, you know, Honorable Commissioner, let's talk about LASMA. One of the first things that Governor Sanwo-Olu did when he came in was to reorganize LASMA, increase their salaries and all of that. The LASMA has proven to be ineffective. And on top of the inefficiency of a LASMA, we have all kinds of VIOs, vehicle inspection officer teams on the roads of Lagos. We have a task force who claim that they are monitoring people who are taking one way. We have local government transport agencies, a multiplicity of transportation agencies, making life difficult for Lagosians. I mean, one would think that their primary objective would be to encourage the ease of transportation, but they've become very notorious. Some of these officials, they have a reputation for hiding in corners, just waiting for you to make a mistake, and they swoop on you, and they either seize your car or collect money from you, and they are very cruel. Is there any kind of training about decorum and decency for this your multiple transportation agencies who are doing more harm than good?
Well, it's unfortunate that some of the last mile people or VR people that people may have encountered may be the ones that are bad. Out of every organization, there's no way you will not have a bad egg. As I've said, transportation is a big deal in Lagos, and that is why Mr. Baide Sanwo-Olu, when he came in, he made so many changes. He increased the hazard allowance of these last mile people by 100%, increased their working hours. They have to stay at their duty bits by up till 11 p.m. and just to do everything that traffic should flow in Lagos. And, Lagos, it has about 227 cars per kilometer, and as against the national average of 16 cars per kilometer. And that is why transportation in Lagos is a big deal. That is why you have all the VIOs, the last mile people, the task force people that are trying to get things moving. But it is there is no doubt some of them may have become a clog in the wheel of progress. But I assure you that anytime a last man official does something that is bad and he or she is reported, they get fired. They get fired. They are not, we don't condone indiscipline among them, but we really need them because they are the people who understand how traffic should move in Lagos. They are the people who know what to do when there is a gridlock. They are the people who know what to do and how to tell people the way to behave. There are people even coming to Lagos, they don't even know their way. And they won't use any instrument to know their way like Google. But what the government has done that you are going to begin to see nowadays is that the government is laying cables around the city. We are going to be having cameras all over the place, about 2,000 of them. We have started installing them that can show us what has happened anytime there is an argument with a last man official or a traffic problem. And apart from that, Mr. Baide Sanwo-Olu has just launched what we call body cameras for all of our law enforcement agencies, and they are being trained how to use the body cameras now, so that if you have an argument with the last man official, it can be seen from the control room what has happened and what did not happen. So there will be no way a last man official will be rude to people and will be doing his job without consideration for somebody's respect, who deserves respect. The last man officials will not be having the last word on any argument anyhow, because they know that even the person they are approaching in talking to, the camera is capturing everything. And so once we have the officials wearing the body cameras, all of the things that we are talking about that are negative things that our officials are doing, they will just become a thing of the past, because we are deploying technology to resolve that problem.
Well, the Lagos State government, under this first and last mile scheme, is talking about 286 routes. But so far, the governor has deployed 500 buses, we're told, out of 5,000. How soon would we begin to see these buses out there on every route? And what will be the payment system? I hope it will not be too expensive for the ordinary people living in the hinterland, in the first mile, in the last mile.
It's not going to be so long. I think by around July we'll have thousands of them on the roads, and they will be plying all of the inner routes that the governor and the Lamacha people have mentioned that they will be going to. So they will be seen all over Lagos, and they are going to be assembled in Lagos. And even before that time, around June, July, we are going to be launching the Lagos Ride taxi scheme. But talking about last mile and first mile buses, I think a bus will cost like 5.5 million per bus, and they are going to be using cooperatives to give them to people. The idea is just to say that the system whereby one man will buy a bus and then begin to load it over people or over drivers should be a thing of the past. We should go modern. Now we have to have cooperatives coming in to ask for these buses. You can ask for 20, you can ask for 50, you can ask for 10. Not for individuals. But if individuals want any bus, such an individual will have to join a cooperative, or will have to apply to Lamata, and Lamata will find a cooperative that they can join such an individual to. And then he can from there obtain a bus and begin to pay the money. And the money is, I think, first you pay 20%, and then later you will be paying instrumentally in a way that it will not hurt your pocket. And apart from that, there is a way that a refitting. You know, there will be insurance, there will be workshops where the buses can be repaired. Everything is just going to be fine. The idea is that at any point in time, you find worthy buses, brand new buses, buses that are decent, that are comfortable for Lagosians to find them on the road, not the rickety buses that we see nowadays.
Okay, Commissioner for Information and Strategy. Yes, transportation traffic management is number one on Governor Sanwo-Olu's themes agenda. But look, if you throw additional 5,000 vehicles into Lagos, I mean, that could be, adding to chaos, traffic congestion. So how far has the government of Lagos gone with what it had described as its plan for multimodal transportation system? What is the situation with the rail system, the metro system? What Governor Sanwo-Olu refers to as the red line, the blue line. Where are we? Have the lines turned red? Has any line turned blue? Where are we with that?
Well, first let me just talk about what you think is going to be congestion if you bring in more buses. Everything that is being done is based on research, and research does not fail, especially when it has gone over time. All of the things that we are doing today is part of the Lagos Transport Master Plan, and the Master Plan makes room for these buses that we are talking about. And the buses that we are talking about, the last mile and first mile buses, they are going to be operating in the inner streets, inner roads, where you have mostly Okada and Keke Marwa people plying now. The idea, as I've said, is that our people deserve to be conveyed in decent buses, in comfortable buses, in buses that people can be proud of, to say that they can match the glamour of Lagos. And about the blue line and the red line, the idea is that people should not be restricted to roads, and that if we do rail and we improve our waterways, people are going to be able to lessen the pressure on the roads. And the blue line is about 93% completed now. It's the rail that will be moving from Marina to Mile 2, Okokomaiko. I think the aspect of it that's really tough, the one on water, we are done with that one, and we have started moving on land now, which should be faster. The whole idea is that by the end of next year, the last quarter of next year, the rail should move in Lagos, and it should be moving about 1 million passengers per day. And then the red line is the one that will be moving from Oyingbo to Agbado, and that one is going to be using the right of way of Nigeria Railway Corporation. And then I think in April 15 precisely, Mr. Abati Sanwo-Olu, the governor, did the groundbreaking of the red line. And the beautiful thing about the red line is that this kind of a project, what gets it stuck is funding. But the red line is not going to have that kind of problem. The red line is going to, the funding is already there, the money is there, we have done the groundbreaking, the right of way we have taken, and then all of the people that need to be compensated because they are going to lose their property, they have been compensated. And for the first time in the land, not only property owners are being compensated, tenants who are going to be displaced are also being compensated. And the work is on now. The idea is that by the last quarter of next year, both the blue line and the red line will move. And if we start moving people, the red line will be moving about 500,000 people per day. If we start moving people by rail, then there will be less pressure on road, and everything will work together.
Okay, yes. I mean, I know we've been on this metro issue in Lagos since the days of Alhaji Lateef Jakande, first civilian governor of Lagos State. But there seems to be a new development in Nigeria now. Even the federal government is, moving very fast. with railway as an alternative, as an additional means of transportation. But we've seen along the Warri-Itakpe rail line and other places, Nigerian citizens going to remove rail bars for their own personal purposes. The rail bars removed from Warri-Itakpe, they were discovered somewhere in the north, and we were told persons have been arrested. So if Lagos State invests all of this money on the blue rail, the rail line, is there any backup plan to ensure security so that people do not go and remove those rail bars, cut them together, cut them off to go and do, to go and use for their own domestic purposes? Is the government thinking along those lines?
Oh, sure. Number one, we are stepping up at advocacy, telling our people that every project that the governor inaugurates, that is their project. People should own such projects. If you see anybody who is trying to destroy any of those projects, raise the alarm. Don't just keep quiet, because one thing that affects somebody affects all of us. You can imagine if somebody goes to cut the rail line and then he gets away with it, and there is an accident, that would be a national calamity. And we don't want that kind of thing in Lagos. That is why we are stepping up advocacy. And apart from that, we are deploying technology all over Lagos. Very soon, like I said, you are going to be seeing cameras all over the place, so that people cannot just hide under the fact that nobody is looking at me and begin to commit all those atrocities. Now there will be cameras all over the place. We have our smart city project. The fiber optic cable that we are laying around is about 3,000 in the first place. And then the second phase is going to be another 3,000. It's going to be about 6,000 kilometers that we go around the state, and it will be in our major cities and towns, so that anybody who does that kind of thing, you sure the camera will catch the person if individuals don't see you. And we are going to be stepping up advocacy and telling Lagosians to own those projects. We do a road in an area, you don't go and see people who are digging the road and then you keep quiet. You raise the alarm. Then there will be cameras all over the place watching the people. And of course, our law enforcement agencies, where they will be at the alert. We are going to be increasing the number of our neighborhood watchmen whose duty is to just check out such things and then be able to report to the security agencies. So in every way, we are going to be preparing for that kind of thing so that it doesn't happen here.
Okay, Gbenga Omotoso, Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Lagos State. There are still other questions we would like to ask that are of interest to the people of Lagos State, and I'm sure that many of our listeners will also like to make their own inputs. We would like to talk about the Fourth Mainland Bridge, particularly, and also maybe some political issues, open grazing, perhaps, in Lagos State, security in Lagos State, now that we hear that there is a lot of kidnapping. If we get the necessary approval, we may even have to extend the program a little. But let's go for a commercial break, and then we'll come back to Gbenga Omotoso, Commissioner of Information and Strategy, Lagos State.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.
Welcome to City Talks with Reuben Abati on your number one lifestyle station, City 1051 FM. And I remain your host, Reuben Abati. And today we're discussing transportation in Lagos State. And our guest today is Gbenga Omotoso, Lagos State Commissioner for Information and Strategy. Well, Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Lagos State, thank you for staying with us. We've been talking about transportation, the multimodal transportation, the first and last mile scheme. But please talk to us about the proposed Fourth Mainland Bridge. We've been hearing about this Fourth Mainland Bridge for years. Where are we with it? And would the Babajide Sanwo-Olu administration be able to make it a reality before the end of the tenure of the administration?
Well, since Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu mounted the saddle, we have not stopped talking about the Fourth Mainland Bridge, and we have not stopped working on it. The Fourth Mainland Bridge is going to be stretching from Abraham Adesanya up to around Ikorodu, and it will bust out at on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And now I think about 7 contractors are bidding for it. It's going to be funded by public and private partnership. It's not the kind of money that the state can bring out from its balance sheet. And there are about 7 contractors now who are out of about tens of them who are bidding for it. We have narrowed the number down to 7. And by December, if all things goes well, there is going to be financial closure on it. That is, we are going to be nominating the contractor that will do the job. How much is going to do it, and we will have been satisfied is the kind of contractor who has done that kind of job in any part of the world before, and who has the financial muscle to do it. So by December, if all things goes well, there is going to be financial closure on Port Milan Bridge, and I assure you it's going to be a reality, because Mr. Baide Sanwo-Olu has said publicly that he is going to be doing the groundbreaking of Port Milan Bridge by the end of this year.
Well, I also hear a lot of talk about waterway. I mean, some of us who don't know how to swim, should we go and enter Lagos State boats? What are the risks that we face? How is that going? That's what I mean.
No, it's doing fine. More and more Lagosians are embracing waterways now. The Lagos State Ferry Service is doing a lot. Before we had 14 ferries, and then very soon, I think in a matter of days, most likely next week, we are going to be adding at least 6 more to them, and then we will add 20 boats. And people have been embracing this. Everybody who comes on board is has to wear a life jacket that is provided by the operators of the ferries, and then it is faster, it is safer, because you hardly hear about ferry accidents nowadays, because the government has done a lot of things. We have done a lot of dredging, and we are building new jetties so that the services can be expanded to as many places as possible, and the boats are very comfortable, and surprise, surprise, to some people, is made by local engineers. Local companies made the boats. So 6 of them will be joining the fleet in a matter of days now. And so I think by September last year, the Black Ferry had carried this 100,000th passenger, and it was celebrated because it shows that more and more people are traveling by water. I think in 124 days of operations, they carried 100,000 passengers. And so good is the service that the last time the Super Eagles were going to Porto Novo, they went by ferry. Black Ferry carried them, and all of the players were surprised. They were very happy because they had fun. Some of them who had never even been on water before, it was their first experience, and they loved it because they saw the beauty of Lagos and they saw the majesty of nature on water. And somebody asked them the question, many of them, would you like to travel by ferry again? They said yes. So, I mean, if anything, this is a great achievement that the national team could surrender themselves to be taken by ferry to Porto Novo and, taken there by Black Ferry. So I feel that it's a very big advantage that Lagosians should seize. If you are traveling from Ikorodu to the island, there's no point going to get yourself stuck in traffic. You can easily go by boat. And like I said, we are building new jetties in Jeddah, in Ijegun, in Ibutero, in Maitu, in Badagry. So all these jetties, they are expected to make travel by ferry easier for our people. And by the time more and more people embrace a ferry, they will see that there is no point going to get stuck in traffic on the road, and that it is safer, it's comfortable, it is convenient, and it is efficient.
Well, Honorable Commissioner, I still want to ask 3 more questions. I see that many of our listeners are already calling, and that was why I said maybe we may need to extend the program by just a few minutes. So if you can keep the responses a little bit shorter. But this is still about transportation. There is this concern now that of late, there is a very high rate of kidnapping in Lagos State. There have been, reports on social media that Lekki is no longer safe, that kidnappers, are moving into that zone. So what is the state government? Is the state government aware of these reports? And what is the state government doing about it to make sure that even as people travel on the streets of Lagos, they don't get kidnapped, they don't get mobbed, they don't get molested?
Well, I think I would not want to say that these reports are exaggerated. No, if people have genuine fear about kidnapping and other crimes being committed in Lekki, well, they are genuine fears according to some people. But there are some people who believe that the reports are even exaggerated. But even if it is one incident, Lagos State government will not take it lying low at all. And that is what we have done. The police are on it. The police have moved into it. This morning, I saw with the commissioner of police, who told me that a video of a woman who claimed that a member of her staff was kidnapped, that the video has been examined and they are on the matter. They are finding out what happened. But I told you since last couple of days, that people have been talking about Lekki. The police have moved in there. I've seen the video of policemen patrolling Lekki and some other places where people have complained. And I'm sure suspects must have been arrested. I didn't ask the police about that. But I'm sure that suspects must have been arrested, if indeed these allegations are true.
Okay, again, recently, last week, Tuesday, May 11, to be specific, governors of the southern part of Nigeria met in Asaba, and Governor Sanwo-Olu was also there. And one of the major resolutions had to do with open grazing. There were other issues, 12 issues. Now, how serious is the challenge of open grazing in Lagos? Is that also a major security concern for the Lagos State government?
No, we are not so much blessing Lagos with land for people to come and graze their cattle and for people to come and do all sort of things. The little that we have in Lagos, we are using for agricultural purposes. The incident that happened around Ekpe, the government has moved in there, and then if there was going to be any trouble, I'm happy to tell you that it's been nipped in the bud. So we don't have such a problem in Lagos.
Okay, Commissioner Omotoso, let's begin to take, responses from our listeners. I see that there are some people already on the line. Who is the first caller? Hello?
Hello, good afternoon, Reuben Abati.
Good afternoon.
Yes,
Your name, your location, and please keep it brief.
Yeah, AB from Songo.
That's in Ogun State. Why do you want to take on the Commissioner of Information in Lagos?
Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, good afternoon, sir.
You didn't hear me. I said you are calling from Ogun State. What's your stake in Lagos State matters when you don't live in Lagos?
Songo, Ogun State.
Yes.
Yeah. My question to our guest there is, if you look at during Lapis Jaconde's time, what they were doing to ease the transportation system, especially lockdown, they were doing odd number and even number. Why has the government not initiated that move? Because it really helped 1979 and 80. And they were, those who have vehicles to drop their, especially when it was even number, they would drop their vehicle. When it's time for odd numbers, those ones will now fly or use their own vehicle. And it worked a lot in Lagos State because everybody coming to Lagos. So why have they not used that system to make sure that to ease this traffic jam in Lagos? That is number one. Quickly, number two, the issue of this Okada. Don't you think it's going to cause a lot of problems? We are going to have more bandits, more criminals in Lagos State because the problem they are going to have is electricity. There's no electricity anywhere because the people are going to suffer. If you ask them to go and learn the job and at the end there's no electricity to pilot what they are going to do, it's going to be a big problem. So what is the government doing about it? Those are my two questions. God bless Nigeria.
Well, thank you, Mr. AB from Eshongo. Nice question. Why is it that we are not doing odd number and even number? Well, when that policy was introduced, the number of cars in Lagos was not as high as we have now. And research has shown that what we are doing, our approach is better than that. And if we look at it even from the superficial level, that a man, nowadays you have people with 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. So if you say you want to have odd number on the road today, the man can bring out odd number car. If you say even number the other day, he can bring out even number. So there's no point introducing that kind of policy to not resolve the problem. What we are doing is to tackle all of the problems that we think are responsible for these gridlocks that we are seeing. We have identified 60 gridlock points, and we are resolving them one after the other by our junction improvement programs. We have changed the junction, the roundabout in Allen Avenue, the one in like two in the Lekki roundabouts 1 and roundabout 2. We have done that. The Maryland roundabout. So all of these roundabout junction improvement projects, they are expected to resolve some of the gridlocks. And honestly, the gridlocks are being resolved because I travel around town every day and I see that a lot has been achieved in that respect.
Okay. Well, I have a question here from Zoom, from Dr. Abiodun Adeniyi. He says, thanks a lot, Commissioner, for the exhaustive explanations. But will the Commissioner react to growing cynicism about the possibility of these lofty plans getting enmeshed in politics and then inefficiency or even failure? What mechanism is the government putting in place to forestall this from happening? In other words, to prevent the politicization of what the government is proposing. You know, in Lagos, there are all kinds of, party chieftains. Those they call Baba Sokwe, who dictate the direction of governance, the godfathers in Lagos politics. I guess that's what Dr. Adeni is talking about.
Well, thank you, Dr. Adeni. In Lagos, we do not reckon with the fact that a policy that is supposed to be of great benefit to the public will be destroyed by some people's interference, no matter how powerful they are. Because the last mile and first mile buses, for example, is a scheme based out of what the people are going through. And apart from that, that is people oriented like any other program done by Mr. Abati, Sanwo-Olu, the governor. It is also a business decision that is going to be run in purely as a business. So for anybody to come and interfere is going to be tough. The drivers themselves are going to go to the Lagos Driving Institute for them to be trained. They are not just going to be handed the buses to be driven the way they like. So everything is being done in Lagos as it is being done in other parts of the world in a civilized manner, not in a manner that considers that some people can come and interfere.
Well, we have another caller on the line. Your name, your location, and please go straight to the point.
Good morning, Dr. Abati.
Yes, thank you for joining us on the
I also want to greet your resource person.
Yes,
all right.
Thank you.
I need negotiants specifically to choose between their security, their safety, and the menace of Okada. That is the gospel truth, because we need to really face it. I need Lagos, I know the commissioner is listening. I need the commissioner of Lagos State to engage the leaders of these Hausas. I'm not stereotyping anybody. You get me? I'm not stereotyping anybody. But between me, you and I, we know who are these people, apart from the locals. But once they are involved in an accident, they are taken to orthopedic hospital. They are leaders that normally used to come and fight for them. Lagos State need to engage them and to let them know that they don't need their services again in Lagos. We all travel out, and I have never seen where Okada is even Republic of Benin. They are into Okada, but they are more civil in the way and manner they operate it. Hello?
We're with you. We're very much with you. Please
yes, they are more civil. And I have never seen where majority of the transportation business is left in the hands of informal business. It has to be formal for you to generate good revenue and tax from it. It has to be, you know what I mean, to be controlled. Good morning and God bless you.
Thank you very much. We have another caller on the line, but I don't know, Commissioner Omotoso, whether you want to respond to that.
Yeah, people have been talking about the menace of Okada and Okada being used for criminal activities, and we have to choose between our security and livelihood. It's a very delicate decision. That's why last week Monday the governor convened the security stakeholders meeting, and Lagosians were there from all walks of life: security experts, students, activists, workers, labor unions, religious leaders, and all of them came to the conclusion. Part of the resolution is that Okada must be banned. And then the governor said, well, we are going to take a look at this. And that's why he spoke last Tuesday about the fate of Okada, that if we do not find them behaving, that by July we will do something drastic about that, that the blanket ban that people are asking for may come. But what has shown up now in the scheme of things is that Lagosians really do not want Okada. Gone are the days that they were even talking about how to do alternatives. Now we have provided alternatives. We want to see how it goes. We need to train our security people how to tackle this matter, and we need to let Lagosians see that in actual fact they can ride in decent, comfortable and efficient buses instead of Okada that is causing a security problem, that is causing health challenges, polluting the air, and then getting people's limbs broken down, their health smashed all the time. So we are going to consider the fact that, well, we cannot continue like this. We need to just do something about them. But for those who are talking about alternatives, we have brought the buses and we want to see how it goes.
Okay, we have more callers on the line. Who is next? Please keep it brief. Go ahead. Your name, your location, and your question or comment.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Yeah, please, I just want to make a suggestion. Ask the commissioner what they want, how they will go about this laudable program. How do they want to guide this against all these saboteurs? Like what happened to BRT during the SARS. Then secondly, sir, how they are going to safeguard the drivers of those vehicles from the intimidations of these union people that you see every corner now in Lagos. Those are just my questions, sir. Because these are pertinent things that we need to look at when we are doing this kind of very good and valuable program for the people of Lagos State. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, there is no problem. All of these things that maybe your fears have been considered before in the formation or conception of the program. Like I said, people are going to be having the buses through cooperatives, and that will end the one-man show in that area of business, in that sector. Now you are going to have cooperatives instead of one man buying a bus or buses and then giving it to drivers who are not trained. The drivers themselves are going to be trained, and the cooperatives are going to be paying 20% before they get the buses, and after getting the buses they will be paying instrumentally. So everything is well organized.
Okay, we have another caller on the line. Your name, your location, and please be brief.
Good afternoon, Dr. Abati. I'm Tayo from Oba.
Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. They are talking, Lagos State, they have LAFRA. How come when Lagos State allows anyone to operate a commercial vehicle in Lagos without a LAFRA certificate? Well, that means that all the drivers must be with LAFRA something. And then LAFRA must have a gadget whereby the LAFRA, once they put your vehicle number or whatever in their system, just like like what we used during the election. And if they find out that they are not registered with LASMA, even though you have the certificate, there they will know whether you are using fake or whatever. That person should be arrested immediately and hand over to the court. And from there, I know this thing is the Lagos State Assembly. We have to know how to write the law. But I believe that before you can operate any commercial vehicle, commercial keke, commercial Okada, you should be linked with LASRA. That is and anytime you change your accommodation from one place, LASRA must be notified. If you are caught, they check your vehicle. They stop they punch your number into their gadget, and it's different from the address with the LASMA. With the LASRA, then that is a violation there. They take you straight to the court. I'm not saying mobile court. If they want lawyer to go and represent them, let them take lawyer to represent them at the court. Let them be paying every fine, and from them. Maybe that one will help in the control of traffic in Lagos, because you have to link it whereby if you make a U-turn where you're not supposed to be to make U-turn, and they can see that you are with LASRA, then let the court give him a ticket, let him go to court and pay fine. So Lagos State can be making money. That is my own idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Well, many of our listeners may not understand the distinction he's trying to make. Is he talking about LASMA or the Lagos State Residents Association?
Lagos State Residents
Registration Association.
We've been talking about that, and very soon there's going to be a massive advocacy concerning that. The governor is going to be leading the advocacy himself, so that we cannot be operating in Lagos without data. And for us to be able to get data, everybody who comes to Lagos and stays more than a month, more than 2 months, should be able to have LASRA card. And once you register with LASRA, we can be able to account for you, where you are staying, what you are doing, and all of the other things that will make us to say that this is the person you are, so that we know that everybody who stays in Lagos, what the person does, and where the person lives. It is very, very important. I agree with that.
Well, okay, we'll take another call, and then I'll ask maybe the last questions. Yes, please go ahead. Hello. Your name, your location.
Yeah, Dr. Reuben Abati. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
I agree with Mr. Omotoso. Well done, sir.
I agree with
Number one, the other time, last week, just like the doctor was asking, the May 11, there was about 12 agenda. Our part of it was the Apapa Express. And I want to ask now, if after President Muhammadu Buhari or Mr. Muhammadu Buhari retired, had a committee, President South was headed by the Vice President and co-Vice Chairman, I think Mr. Karajo, former Commissioner Lagos, and yet that problem still persisted up to now, we still have it. Then the other time, the governor expressed frustration and he said he was going to name and shame those constituting that problem there. I want to ask, how frustrated is a sitting governor of the state, and that problem cannot be put under control? Because we have similar problem during the time of Fashola, and that problem was put under control. That's one. Number two, the second question I have is the buses you have talked about, fine. How about the roads? The roads are not too perfect, they are not too good. And with the way you have described these lofty projects now, I think it's fine. But then, how about the roads? I don't know how long those vehicles will be, but then I think the road is very important. And you look at the road, look at the range now, everywhere, the drainage system. I think government should do something about the roads again. Some roads, they will do them 1 year, 2 years after the road is gone. And the cost of doing those roads is big money, and you have to repeat all of that again. That's it. Then finally, on the issue of the Fourth Mainland Bridge. Now, how transparent is that going to be? One, because it's good to have a private-public partnership like we have in the case of Lekki. Is it going to be told? and if it's going to be told, is it going to be much more transparent than the case of Lekki? Because we know a lot of questions were not answered concerning issue of Lekki toll gate. So please, this one, let it be transparent. It's good, but then let it be transparent for people to know how exactly it has gone.
Thank you very much. So, Commissioner, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. She's talking about transparency and all of that. Is going to be transparent. He's talking about roads that the programs are laudable, but how about the roads? We have done almost 400 roads since the beginning of this administration, apart from the big roads that we are working on now. But all those inner roads and small ones, we have done almost 400 of them, over 300. And apart from that, as I speak with you now, the Public Works Corporation is publishing every day where they will work on roads, where we will work today. And people are complaining that one road is not good there, another is not good there, and they have been attended to. There is no month that the government of Lagos State does not have to open one road or the other. Or there is no day, even at night. Public Works Corporation works at night now on roads. So we shall continue to maintain roads in Lagos. There are about 10,000 roads in Lagos. We cannot do everything at the same time. But at the same time, you cannot say, because you cannot work on all the roads at the same time, that you will stop working on them or you are not going to work on them. We will keep on working on them. The roads are better now. I drove from my house before in Aranke to up to Abule Egba, to up to the boundary with Ogun State without having a single pothole. And I think I called my colleague in the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure to point this out to her, because every time we drive through a road and we see that the road is bad too, we say so. And Public Works Corporation will quickly go and attend to such roads. So as I speak with you now, so many road works are going on in Lagos, and they shall continue to go on.
About health, particularly COVID-19. You'll recall that the second item under the themes program is health. And then the Sanwo-Olu administration came in and we had a challenge of COVID-19. Now you are introducing more buses, 5,000 buses. These buses, how many passengers would they take? Would they be expected to observe COVID protocols, particularly in the light of the fact that the Commissioner for Health, your colleague, Professor Akin Abayomi, issued a report the other day, and he was advising that people must observe these non-pharmaceutical measures in the face of the threat of a third wave. So all these small Dekumagolo buses, how do you observe, social distancing in those buses? And if you look outside, many of the buses on the Lagos streets, even in spite of what the government is saying, nobody is observing any COVID-19 precaution. Lagosians are behaving as if life is normal.
Well, you are right. Life is not normal, and at every opportunity we tell Lagosians to please keep to the non-pharmaceutical protocols of COVID-19. All of the things that the experts have told us. We should wear our face masks, we should wash our hands, we should not go into crowded places. That is why you see that all the functions of Lagos State government, we ensure that we don't have crowds around, and that is why the Safety Commission is up to the task of telling Lagosians what to do at every point in time. They tell event centers, nightclubs, how to behave around this time. But most importantly, we are focusing on vaccination now. The belief is that if we can vaccinate at least 60% of our population, that we will have what we call herd immunity. And that once we have herd immunity, we can begin to have life back as it used to be. And you can see that in the Western world too, things are changing a little bit. They are easing the lockdown. And here in Lagos, we are trying to balance economic livelihoods with life. So we are trying to see how to manipulate the delicate balance between the two, so that you don't take away people's livelihoods and at the same time you say you want to save their lives. We have to be able to balance the delicate thin line that we have between the two. So we are encouraging Lagosians to obey the pharmaceutical, non-pharmaceutical guidelines that we have been given. And at the same time, we are trying to see how it goes with the vaccination, and we have done well with that. We are waiting for the federal government now to give the go-ahead for the second round of vaccination. And we are praying that we should, we are expecting more vaccines so that as many of our citizens as possible can be vaccinated, and all of the other things that we are seeing in fighting this terrible disease that has taken humanity back several years, we can begin to do them.
Okay, Commissioner for Information, final question. I see people are still calling, but we need to wrap this up. But final question. On May 29, it will be 2 years since Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu assumed office. What should we expect on May 29? A celebration or a statement from the governor about reflection? And if it is celebration, what would the Lagos State government be celebrating as its 2-year achievements? By way of summary, because we've got to go.
Well, it's going to be missed in one way or the other. The governor is going to be talking before May 29 in what is going to be describing as the State of the State address. He is going to be telling Lagosians where we have coming from. And then most importantly, where we are going. He's going to be showing Lagosians all of the iconic projects that he's planning for them. The new Mercy Street Children Hospital, the mental health center in Ekwe, all the new roads that we are going to be building, and then the research center that we are going to be building in Yaba, so that when you have the kind of pandemic that we have now, you don't have to wait for foreigners to come and give us a vaccine. Our own personnel who are here, who are capable, our researchers, will be there to use the facility to be able to develop our own vaccine. He's going to be talking about all of the things he is going to be doing in transportation, the new roads we are going to be building, the blue line, the red line, where we are and where we are going to. He's going to be telling Lagosians that the future that we are talking about, that very soon the greater Lagos we are talking about, we will get there. And he's going to be asking Lagosians to continue to trust the government, to continue to give their ideas that they have, to continue to know that they have a listening governor, and a governor who is sincere in his approach to governance, and who is going to be serving them with all of his heart, with all of his might. And he's going to tell Lagosians to continue to back us indeed, and to continue to be good citizens, paying their taxes and then paying attention to instructions from government.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Lagos State, Mr. Gbenga Omotoso, for taking time out to discuss issues of interest to all of us in Lagos State and even beyond. And, many thanks also to everyone who joined us, the listeners, those who called in, and those who reached out to us on Zoom, Twitter, and Facebook. I saw Basharun Dele Momodo, who was 61 the other Sunday, joining us on this, occasion. And I would like to use this opportunity again to congratulate him on his birthday and to wish him many happy returns. I saw also joining us on Zoom Mr. Frederick Oladende. I saw Tony Chiejina of the Dangote Group, and all of you out there who joined us, Dr. Biodun Adeniyi, Mr. Yemi Adeogun, who is a regular and a very faithful fan of this program, Samuel Chukuka. All of you, we thank you very much indeed. And all of you who called in, thank you very much indeed. Remember, however, that the conversation does not end here. You can reach out to me on my social media account at Abati 1990, both on Instagram and Twitter. And also on @City 1051, you can reach out to the station on all social media platforms. For those of you who tuned in late, you do not need to worry. You can visit City 1051 on YouTube, that's the page for the station, to watch the entire show. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And don't forget also to tune in next week at noon for another exciting edition of City Talks. My name is Reuben Abati. The show was produced by Adedoja Allen, Abiodun Odunton, Ayodamola Oludara, Oluwaseun Adetitun, and Olanrewaju Unepede Jr. Have a great weekend, and please join us again next Saturday. Thank you for listening.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.